There we go. All right, so we will get started and may have some people that trickle in. And Barry, without further ado.
Hey, my dear friends. So when we did our first program in 1977 at the Jewish Home in Oakland, there was a woman there who was a poet, and she taught this process of writing collective poetry among the elders. And I forgot about it. I used to sit in and just listen and participate. And then when we took over the Live Oak Living Center at Greenwich Heights, I'm waiting for Lindsay to come on. I'll start again because I think this is important to say. Hi, Lindsay. Are you there?
Hi, I'm here. How are you?
Good. Can we see your face?
I'm at my house. I'm there's not really a quiet place, so I'm in my closet. So I'm gonna turn my video off.
Here you are. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So so when we took over the Live Oak Living Center at Greenwich Heights back in 1986, the first thing we decided to do was that we had to have a community meeting the first day for residents and family members and staff members. We initiated our daily community meeting. Second thing we decided we wanted to do was to help the residents develop a collective voice. And so we adapted this process that I learned from a woman, a poet named Louise Nair back in 1977, 78 at the Home for Jewish Parents in Oakland, where we did our first Live Oak Community project. And so what I'd like to do today is to and perhaps you can read them and then to talk about the process of writing a collectively written poem, and then for the few of us who are here to write a poem together. And so Tina, if you will open up the PDF of poetry.
I used to write poetry for funsies. Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so this is a cover of a book that we published in back in gosh 1990, called In Our Own Voices, A Chronicle of Life Among the Elders. And so I would like to first of all bring your attention to the picture on the cover, because there was another picture by the same artist, the same woodcut. These pictures were done and integrated into the poetry book, often on the same themes, in the same weeks by a artist workshop that we were fortunate to have sponsored by the local adult school. And so this artist, Lorraine Carl, Ione Becker, did a picture, a woodcut of Adam and Eve that was full frontal. And when the residents saw this, they discussed it and they said, you know what? We're not so comfortable with the full frontal. And that was done by an artist named Lorraine Carl. And so they decided to put that at the back of the book. And on the cover of the book, to have this, which is a more sideway view of the Garden of Eden. And so we gathered together all the residents who would come the first day. And we primed the pump by reading a poem. And then another poem. Could you go to the next poem, please, Tina? And so they came up with a poem that we asked them to throw out actually it was me. I asked them to throw out a topic for the poem. They couldn't think of one, and finally someone said, let's write about the color green. And so we said, great. Does everybody agree that we'll write the poem about the color green? And everybody agreed. There was no objection to that. And we said, how about somebody throwing out the first line? And somebody threw out the first line. And if somebody wants to read that poem, that would be cool. Green on page 8.
I can read it. Green.
Great.
Green is the grass on the hillside with the wind blowing on it. Green is a very becoming color for Hazel as she sits before us in her green dress. Greenbacks, but that's as far as I go because I've never had it in my life. Green is the color of the ocean at a certain time of day when the sun is shining on it. It looks blue to me. Green is greenbacks that have been spent, government, US money. You can buy anything with it. You can buy for dollars. Green is the green leaves are always showing. I'm a gardener. I can graft and bud. And in the spring of the year, you can look for anything green.
So you can see some indications of the different voices in here. So someone said green is the color of the ocean at a certain time of day when the sun is shining. And then someone else said, it looks blue to me. And so it doesn't matter, that there are different voices saying things that are not the same. So one of the primary things that we began teaching from the start is the definition of an elder. And the idea that there's a wisdom between the elders. And so they wrote a poem. And would somebody like to read that?
I can read it.
Thank you, Tina.
Some may say we are presumptuous to give the leaders of the world advice. If they could see what we've achieved, they might not take it, but they might be willing to listen. You must learn to appreciate things. To take things for granted is wrong. Learn to give to others from the heart. It makes them feel like they belong. Think for yourself, but listen to each other. Respect and love and forgive yourself. Then you'll have respect to give to us. We have a right to be here. We're behind what they're trying to do where we live. We're lucky to have them to help us spread the word. Through poetry, we present our views to the world. We feel appreciated and honored.
Great. Would you go to the next poem? Somebody like to read that? But this poem is so important because it shows the relevance of how people are continually learning and integrating what they're learning into the lives of their community. And so this poem is called Earth Day Comes to the Elders.
I'll read
I'm
this one.
sorry? Great.
I'll read it. Earth Day comes to the elders. Before yesterday, none of us ever heard of Earth Day. It's an idea that's new to us, but Earth Day is a universal idea. It's something pertaining to us all. Earth Day is one way to get people talking about the future of life. Now we're taking time to be conscious all over the world. Everywhere, all over the planet, there's no other holiday like it. The world is beautiful. It's continuous, touching every people, every nation. Earth Day is a bit like Mother's Day. Every day should be Earth Day. The earth should be precious to us. Mother Earth loves all her nations. She gives life. She shows us kindness. She feeds the children. Her storms, winds, and earthquakes constantly change her face. Even the desert will grow beautiful alfalfa. It is, if it has the water. We really are earthbound. We depend upon the earth. We come from the earth and we return to the earth when we die. Without Mother Earth, we wouldn't have anything. I'm so glad I live here.
And so, what's significant is that this poem, all these poems were written by people, 85% of whom had a diagnosis of some kind of cognitive loss. I'm told this because I never wanted to read a resonant chart. I only wanted to relate to what's possible with people. But you can see that the people who are reading these poems are really writing these poems are really exceeding the expectations that society places upon them. Evie Kugelman, my sister and teacher, welcome.
Thank you.
So this workshop is about collectively written poems that give the resident a voice and a choice in their life. And so it goes alongside of the daily community meeting as a way of building a shared awareness, shared consciousness, and shared way of perceiving reality. And every week the residents would choose a title. Some weeks the titles would have to do with a holiday. Some weeks the titles would have to do with and it's not they choose a title, they choose a theme. Some weeks they would want to honor another resident. Some weeks they want to talk about somebody's passing. Some weeks they want to talk about what's real and important to them. Some weeks they wanted to talk about the build up to the war in the first war in the first Iraq War. And so they were relevant, and they talked about what was becoming relevant in their lives as the community's awareness of what was going on around them grew. So the next poem, and again, some of these poems are illustrated by a parallel group that was a artist workshop that was funded by the teacher was funded by the local adult school. So would somebody like to read the next poem?
I can. It's Lindsay. The important things. If I had it to do all over, I would sleep on a bed of clover. I'd make a place for my pal lover. If I had it to do all over. If I knew then what I know now, I'd linger by the shady bow. I'd spend less time behind the plow if I knew then what I know now. If I could change the way things are, I'd have always filled the cookie jar. I'd not have fussed about a dirty car if I could change the way things are. But when we get old and are looking back, we'd think that now we have the knack, never scolding or being cross, never trying to be the boss.
To be the boss. So we often would come to the poets workshop with requests. Debbie came to them with a request to write a song about their rights, and they came up with the Resident Rights song. And the last stanza of which I love so much, glory, glory, hallelujah, glory, glory, hallelujah, our rights go marching on. And the last stanza of that song is, we are a group of elders who have the right to know. When we ask about our meds, don't you treat us like our foes. Glory, and so on. And so we were putting together a new welcome packet for new residents. And we asked the residents to write a welcome home message, or a message that they defined as welcome home, to people who are coming into the home to go into the packet. And so this poem was written by the elders as their contribution to the admissions packet for new residents and their families. Would somebody like to read that one?
I can. I can
Great.
see it. Okay, welcome to our home. We are all friends. We are all new at one time. We were all new at one time. We want you to feel as much at home as we do. Don't be shy to ask questions. People are here to help you. Let us know if you need anything or if we can help in any way. Give us your name, come and join us. We enjoy meeting new people for new ideas and thoughts. There are all kinds of activities: art, poetry, community meetings, reading, gardening, music, and exercise. Just choose what you'd like to do. We're glad to have you. And this poem was written by the elders as their contribution to the admissions package for new residents and families. I love it.
So, you know, our home was called the Live Oak Living Center. And we were about live oak, the live oak tree, the tree of life in a way. And so the folks integrated some of that. And one day they wanted to write about the growth of an oak tree. And so if somebody would like to read that one.
I can read it.
Oh, I can read it too, since I started. If you
Go for
want
it.
to. Okay. The growth of the oak tree. Like an oak tree toward the sky we grow. At first when we're young, it's steady and slow. But then if we're planted in the earth that is good, we grow as alive as we should. Our limbs spread out and make some shade so others don't have to be afraid of the heat or of the cold or of being alone, for under our tree they'll feel at home. We've been growing and growing for so many seasons. Sometimes we're stunted for various reasons, but then the rain comes to sharpen our roots and we grow more in unexpected shoots. Our shoots extend in many ways and are strengthened by others every day. As we watch our friends try something new, it makes us think that we can too. And after years of stormy weather, our oaken tree still holds together, so that in the end we see a gnarled but very beautiful tree.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I like that one a lot.
Can you go on to the next one, Tina? Me too. Somebody want to read Aging Together?
I can read that. We are the elders of our time. Long is the poem of our life. We've gone through times of joy and sadness, had moments of leisure and strife. In some ways, we're all still like children, learning things over again in a different way. But our years of life experience have given us wisdom to share today. Society says we're over the hill. They want to put us on the shelf, but instead of letting them do that to us, we're going to try to help ourselves. Our lives that taught us to live for the moment, to make the most of every day. We know that tomorrow is not a promise. We must love each other along the way. We would be unhappy to live alone. We need each other for support and love. Our bodies wear out when we grow old, but our friends help us rise above. So we live together as a community, more like family every day. We feel included, not excluded, in a very responsible way.
So at one point, and I don't remember the exact year, but there was a wage pass-through in the California legislature to pass through a wage bump to direct care workers and people who were providing support in the home. And so we talked a lot about that at the community meeting. And then they decided to write a poem to send on to the legislators and the governor. And indeed, the pass-through did pass. And would somebody like to read that poem?
I can. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Elders for a wage that's true. We need them to watch over us, to make sure everything is all right. We rest more peacefully knowing they are there, any time of day or night. They make the beds, they do the laundry, they help us bathe and cook our food, they scrub the floors, wiping the seat from their eyes. And they are expected to be in a good mood. And yet these people who are so important to us bring home such a small wage. Is it that they deserve for caring? Is that all they deserve for caring for seniors? Are we looked down upon because of our age? It's crucial to us and to your future that this important bill goes through. As your elders, we ask you urgently to vote for a wage that's true.
So the Live Oak Community Council sent this poem to the governor, to lawmakers, and to local newspapers. The cover letter said, as long-term care residents, we have followed the shenanigans in Sacramento about efforts to increase Medi-Cal reimbursements so that nursing home employees can get a pay raise to keep up with the new minimum wage law. The governor and lawmakers are arguing a lot of words that have nothing to do with what's right and wrong. We hope the poem will add some good sense to the whole discussion. Their language. Okay, and the final poem that I selected to read today, there are 167 pages of poems. And the final poem is about to be read. And this would be a poem, if this could be read, if the people in every nursing home in the country felt this, there'd be a transformation of maybe the whole capitalist system that undergirds the nursing homes industry. And so would somebody like to read this? I'll read it. God love our investors. You must have a heart for old people like us and an interest in the future too. You put your life savings into something unknown and made possible a beginning so new. You took a chance by caring and giving and providing for a better life. Barry, Stephen, and Debbie couldn't have done it on their own without a great deal of strife. We felt your money was better. You felt your money was better spent here than putting it in the bank. We wouldn't have such a great place to live, and for this we show you our thanks. We've been so lucky to live here. There's no other place like this. We're glad to be here and wish this for others. This is something elders shouldn't miss. Our future depends on feeling well, a future we must have in our hearts. We appreciate your help and interest in us, and thank you for giving us a new start. So during the startup phase of the enterprise that built the Live Oak Living Center, the founders sought investors who was concerned to see an improvement in the lives of the elders of America as they were for a return on their investment. On hearing of the origins of the company that brought the Live Oak Center to Greenwich Heights, the elders wrote this poem for the company's 20 socially responsible investors. That was the year we couldn't pay them any money, by the way. So these are some of the poems that we did. By the way, can you spotlight me a second, Tina? So before, are you able to do that?
So what are you wanting?
Spotlight me?
What do you mean?
Make me the speaker view.
Yeah, I've got you on the speaker view.
Okay. So when we started today, I had a copy of the cover of our poetry book, and it had on it, and this is for you, Evie, because you're a latecomer. It had on it a picture of that was done by the art class that often works in continuity with the Poets Workshop. And originally the picture had a pictures about Garden of Eden. People did woodcuts of the Garden of Eden. And so the first picture that we chose in putting the book together had a picture by one of the residents that was a frontal view of Adam and Eve. And the resident felt that was not a good way to present ourselves, most of them having been born in 1890, 1900, 1910 and thereabouts. And so I just want to share with you, but they didn't want to offend the woman who did the original picture. And so they put her picture as the last page in the book. And I'd just like to share that with you because I think it's great. That's what they felt shouldn't be on the front page of the book. So there's a lot of humor, a lot of real life, a lot of joy that goes into the process of production of the poems, and it becomes an intrinsic part of the life of the culture of the home. And so I'd like to describe to you the process of writing a poem, of facilitating the writing of a poem. Can you put that up on the screen, Tina, please? So we begin the process by reading a poem or two to prime the pump. And then we get consensus for a topic for today's poem. First day there, we said, what topic should we do? Nobody could think of anything. It was the first meeting. And so somebody said, well, how about we write a poem about the color green? And they did that first poem that we read today, which was really primitive, compared to some of them that got much more sophisticated as time went by. And so so we repeat the topic. My thing is not clear. That number 3 should not be there. We repeat the topic, and then we ask for a first line. And somebody throws a first line, and then we let it grow from there. And it just flows. And sometimes it's a little jagged. You know, people will say one thing and then somebody else will say another thing, and it doesn't quite follow. But on reflection, we may find that if we move things around a little bit, it'll fit perfectly. So between meetings, as the facilitator of the writing, we very lightly smooth the poem, bringing together ideas for continuity. At the next meeting, we read the smooth version, and together the group finalizes the poem, and they end by naming the poem. And so what I'd like to do today is to write a collectively written poem. And I'm not sure how to do this. I hadn't thought this one through. I'm not sure how to do this with the technology. So can you open up
I got a Word document open and I'll share that screen, and we can start to type it up on the screen while people are sharing.
Great. So let's start by, we've read some poems. If they prime the pump, you have an idea what the poetry writing is about. And you know, reading these poems in preparation for today, it really, really blew my mind. I had forgotten the profundity and the depth of the poems that were written. And so I wonder if somebody would like to throw out a topic for us to write for our first collectively written poem as a group here.
You could do like from a perspective of in my eyes or in their eyes, like from what the residents think you see them as versus who they truly are.
Okay. So in their eyes, does anybody else have another suggestion of a topic? Okay, so Marissa, you want to throw out a first line for that topic?
Yeah. So you say in your eyes, you see, like it's the resident talking to the staff member. In your eyes, you see a body ridden with disease.
Okay, somebody else like to put a follow-up line to that?
In your eyes, you see a number.
In my eyes, I see a lot of learning yet to go.
In my eyes, I see a mother, daughter, sister, and friend.
Okay, in my eyes, I, I see a beautiful soul with years of wisdom.
In your eyes, you see a task to be accomplished.
Yes?
In your eyes, you see a burden.
Now, friends, if
In
we look
my
at this, go ahead.
in my eyes, I see a sink that needs fixing.
You want
Okay,
to
I've got,
expand on?
I have one. In my eyes, I see a world that doesn't understand.
So do you have another line about in my eyes?
What was that?
If we're looking at the way it's progressing, we have 2 lines about your eyes, and then 3 lines about my eyes. And so, do we have another in my eyes? I see.
And worth caring for.
What?
In my eyes, I see a gentle soul worth caring for.
Do we want to do another stanza, friends? This is the way we do it, do we want to add another stanza? We're pointing out the way that the poem is progressing. And these are things
Yeah.
we do as a facilitator.
Yeah, we can. In your eyes, you see a way to earn your money.
In your eyes, I see hope and despair.
That's a good one. In my eyes, I see a long life worth living.
In my eyes, I see meaning. I see purpose.
In my eyes, I see you.
Nice.
I used to write poetry.
Yeah.
It was a hobby.
Last line.
I
Just
like
one
the
solid last line.
I like the last line. It says, in my eyes, I see you. I think
Oh,
that
I didn't see, great. Wow, wow.
I like that.
So does somebody want to read the poem?
In your eyes, you see a body ridden with disease. In your eyes, you see a number. In my eyes, I see a lot of learning yet to go. In my eyes, I see a mother, daughter, sister, and friends. In my eyes, I see a beautiful soul with years of wisdom. In your eyes, you see a task to be accomplished. In your eyes, you see a burden. In my eyes, I see a sink that needs fixing. In my eyes, I see a world that doesn't understand. In my eyes, a gentle soul worth caring for. In your eyes, you see a way to earn your money. In your eyes, I see hope and despair. Or in your eyes, you see hope and despair. In my eyes, I see a long life worth living. In my eyes, I see meaning. I see purpose. In my eyes, I see you.
Are you guys sending out anything with FedEx? He's here to pick up something, but I don't have nothing up there. No?
So what do you think? You think that's a worthwhile experience? The collective voice becomes the voice of the individual as well. And by giving the collective a voice, it creates a way of influencing life within the home. For example, the Resident Rights song became something that was sung to every new staff member, every new resident, every new family member at the community meeting which they're introduced to the residents. And so imagine a CNA who's worked steadily in traditional nursing homes that aren't on the journey. And they come, and in their orientation, they're told, you know, we see the resident as somebody who's learning, growing, and developing. We see the resident as somebody who still has potential and whose life continues to have within promise for and connection to the future. We see the resident as somebody whose birthright to happiness, joy, and pleasure remains intact. And then you say, you know, and so what we want you to do is we want you to come and meet the resident community. And so the residents interview them about their lives. And then someone says, we have a song we want to sing to you about our rights. And they sing the Resident Rights song about the right to be a person living in this home with choice, with meaning. And it becomes a part of the transformation that goes on within the community and within the life of the people. And so anybody have any questions about the process of writing poems, about the process of the smoothing process? The process of coming back to the elders and saying, okay, this is what I took down verbatim last week. And this is how I smoothed it together. Does this work for you? Perhaps you'd like to change that. And so we become the facilitators of a process of co-creation.
I think a good thing to share with them too is because, you know, some people would be like, well, I don't know how to write poetry. Well, there's no wrong or correct way to write it. Poetry is a form of expression. It's a form of expressing in an artistic way. And anything that they say can be turned into a beautiful stanza for a poem. So I think just encouraging them to understand that it doesn't matter how it's written or how you verbalize it, it's still a beautiful work of art and it can be made to help others.
You know, if I can share a story, my father had dementia, probably Lewy body dementia in retrospect, and he was in a day program, and they gave him a picture to color, and they didn't, you know, he filled in the colors and stuff like that, but he didn't know really that he was filling in filling in the lines. What he knew is this was a piece of art, and he came home and he says, I had no idea that I was an artist. I had no idea that I could do such a thing. And, you know, my mother hung it up proudly, and he was so proud of this accomplishment. and it was a beautiful moment. And that's what this is. It's about unleashing the creativity in people that they don't even think they have, but the pride that they have when they unleashed it.
That's right. That's right.
I think the other thing that was so neat to see on the other side, like in typing it up, was that in the peer group, one of the things that was said is just that there's been people who want to express their feelings, and they, you know, it's hard sometimes because it's like they need to be heard. And I think this is such a productive way to, not just productive, but it's such a cool way to hear everybody's voice and to come up with something to acknowledge like the feeling behind it. Sometimes people are just seeking a way to like express themselves, and in putting it out this way, there's no wrong way to express yourself. And you're saying, in my eyes, this is how I feel. You know, everybody has a voice, a way to be heard, a way to be seen, and it comes out in something really beautiful. And when you guys were saying it, like everybody contributed something. So it was really neat.
It's also a way of delivering a message to other residents, to future residents, to staff members, to the community at large, to the world. You know, they wrote a poem during I don't know if any of you remember the Tiananmen Square event in China that was so terribly destroyed. And let me see if I can find this. Here's a picture from the artist group about the 4th of July, and they wrote a poem about the 4th of July. Here's an interesting poem called Before Television. Before television, before there was a television, we read, we play on the Ouija board and went to bed. I was high school age when pulling taffy was all the rage. We went to a friend's house and had taffy pulls. We buttered our hands so it wouldn't stick and then pulled the candy quick. Then we did the candy until we were sick. This was when most of us would learn to dance, put the little foot forward. For all these we would prance. And we played gramophones and Victrola and dance on Saturday night. And there we would meet our knights in shining armor bright. Love. I fell for him, he fell for me. We went out on a limb sitting under a tree. We were alone in the woods where we wouldn't be seen, doing what we should because love is serene. Section 2. Love in a beauty parlor where we dared to follow. Love in schools where we were fools. Love on the Farm, where we came to no harm. Love on the Corner with little Jack Horner. Love of the Dance, full of romance. It was fun, fun, fun. And these are the illustrations that went along with it. So, the time. Think about things you don't have time for. Think about the time you don't have. Time and tide wait for no man. We had a teacher who said that all the time. I'm having a hard time finding time to work on a button. Finding time and then wasting time. Too much time on my hands. I taught school a long time ago. Time and time again, over and over, they call for dinner, getting dressed, reading in spare time, and one more time, the refreshment followed. And so this is the illustration that went along with that. So I'm trying to find. I think of North Dakota when I left there. This is called memories. I think of North Dakota when I left there, I left part of me behind. The best place in the world was Idaho, the most beautiful of its kind. My fondest memories are when my children were small. These are mine too, those are mine too. Sometimes I think when I think of them, I get no sleep at all. I remember all the icicles, great big old long ones, hanging down from the eaves of our houses in good old Oklahoma. I lived in London, England, but remembering is hard. I remember I lived close to Scotland Yard. There's no other state like California. I like everything about it. The climate is wonderful. There's no doubt about it. Memories are good to have. The griefs and pleasures stand side by side. We feel grief and peace and contentment in our memories of days gone by. And so I just want to read one more poem because this poem was written in honor of a visit to the Live Oak Living Center by Betty Friedan, whose book, The Feminine Mystique, is credited by many as having sparked the women's liberation movement. Betty and the residents had a wide-ranging discussion about gender and aging and speculated about why women live long. And interestingly, when Debbie and I picked up Betty in her hotel room in San Francisco, she said, "You're better off if I don't come to your home. I hate everything about nursing homes. I've never seen a good one, and I'm sure in my book," she wanted to write a book to stimulate another revolution like the women's revolution. She said, "And in my book, I don't think I can have anything good to say about your home." And Debbie said, "We'll take our chances, come anyway." And after the discussion, this is a poem that was written by the women, by all the folks in the home. I would be a woman. When I was young, I wanted to be a boy and play with my two brothers. Go dress your doll. You don't know how to throw a ball, they'd say. The boys had more fun. They could do anything they wanted. If you were a girl, you had to be careful. Do things that look good. Boys could get out and do more. Girls would help mom in the kitchen, wash dishes, sweep, and do the laundry. After high school, I was content to be a boy, to be a girl, dressing up, being pretty, chaperoned by brothers on dates. Most girls would abide by mother's and grandmother's word. Getting married, I had rights. I was on my own ground. I didn't have to get permission from my folks. Men have more freedom, more privilege. A man is outside, a woman is inside. Some women are both. I would be a woman any day. And so this is the picture that went along with that. Anyway, my friends, I want to bless you all that you go forth, write many collectively written poems, and share them with us and share them with people in the homes, share them with family members. You can have a place on a message board in the home that prints out the poem of the week. You know, you can include them in newsletters. These become a way of communicating, not just the artistry, not just the vision, but the message the voice of the elders. So thank you all for coming today. And if no one else has anything to say,
Thank
Uh,
you, Barry.
Beth gave me just a handful of things to put on to just mention at the end here, if that's all right.
Sure.
She wanted to just mention that on your next webinar is going to be February 23 at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. So just mark that in your calendar. And then that time was changed because of your Harmony Points community meeting, I think. And that you are doing visits now the week of February 13th. Is that right, Barry?
I will be going to homes the week of February 13th. That's right.
Okay, perfect. And then I think that is it. Those were just the two things I was supposed to mention at the end.
Well, Tina, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
Happy
You
to
are
be here.
You're a real bright light, as all of you are.
Well, thanks for letting me join. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you and bless you all. Be well and be happy.
Thank you. This was fun.
Thank you. Love you all.
Take care.
You too.